Hey, good morning, everybody. And we're going to do part two of Marilyn McGloin's amazing life adventure. We'll be summarizing it a little bit today because it took a full hour to get through her life. And by the way, we used to do this at the Inside Edge and the Mastery Circle, where we would take one person and they would talk about their life and kind of highlight them. So we're doing multiple things here with highlighting Marilyn's life. She just recently put out a book on this. And then also looking at the principles that governed her life, which I think are really important. And uh, in my foreword to the book, I said, I don't think I've ever read a book where anyone has been so forthcoming and truthful about their personal life. Marilyn shares with you as though you were her closest friend in the world. She also always followed her spirit, trusted in the divine, and that all that is happening was for the good. I personally know Marilyn for many decades and can say she has always served and helped others, which is one of the highest callings a human can have. Given what she has gone through, you would swear there were angels protecting her. So, we're going to find out about that and her beliefs based on her experience. So, Marilyn, I'm going to put up one of the slides here, which sort of it has your three lives and then
Oh,
the
good.
shadow lives. And I thought maybe if you could just talk to it, just sort of summarize like what happened in your first life, your second life, your third life, and then what were the shadow things that were in play. And then we'll go to what the protection was. So let me put that up real quick and let you talk to it. Okay, share Keynote, share sound, share. Let me go here. So let's make
Oh,
that big. Can you see that? Okay, Marilyn and
I
everybody?
I can see it fine.
Okay, so that's your first life. You want to talk about that with your family and the spouse and so on.
Okay, that my life has been about being a mother since before I was even conceived, and the explanation to that's in the book, and I can see how that played out all the way. It's interesting. The guy I'm with right now, Raj, is he was my first boyfriend uh, when I was 10, and we moved two houses away from him, and there's seven brothers. And that's what, way in the early part of it, of the first life, which was about family and having kids. I wanted to have kids forever and ever. And uh, when I first met George, my first husband, I said I wanted 13 kids because his mom had 12. He was second. And then I had one and said, make that six. And then, of course, the second one, well, maybe a girl, and used birth control from the third one on. And it was amazing to me that my whole life was about being a mom. And as I said, it wasn't like I had my eight kids, I was my eight kids. And then other kids that came into my life, my niece for 2 years, making my eight look like a piece of cake. And then when we bought our bigger house, we had a three-bedroom, one bath with nine kids. And we bought the bigger house and it came with this. We're moving stuff in, and there's a little about 9, 10-year-old kid sitting on the front stairs, inside stairs. And he says, Hi, I'm Ricky. I came with a house. And I'm looking around like, what? And I've always wanted Ricky for all eight of the pregnancies. I wanted Ricky for a boy's name. And I thought, well, I guess I got him. But when he said that, I came with a house, and I was kind of laughing and thinking. And then he says, I'm not kidding. And I thought, all right, God, very funny. I got a bigger house. I guess we have more room. But anyway, my first life was all about having kids. And I thought I was done as the kids started leaving. but I loved it. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I wouldn't do it again for all the money in the world. 8 kids is way too many. And I said I would never work at an orphanage because I would probably brought them home too. So that tells you my mental state.
Okay. All right, here we go. Your second life, breaking out, getting the motorcycle into the exciting unknown.
My my second life was meeting Jack Canfield and Tim Pearing and Diana with the Inside Edge and everyone that came with it. A whole different life. Um, really shook up the family. They're still shook up about it. And that's been many, many, many years ago, 35 years ago, at least 36. And it's still an issue, the fact that I would go out and do something besides just wanting to be a mom. And I had no idea what I was going to do. I just knew I was doing it and that I was safe in doing it. That was huge. Okay.
And third life,
Third life was being a teacher healer for those in need. Um, this is the Dome Village, um, where I met my second husband. And it was just fun and playing, staying in the moment and meeting these people. Um, I came over, I brought saddlebags full of wieners and buns and mustard, ketchup, chips, uh, wire coat hangers, and we had wiener roast. And then I introduced them to s'mores. Not one person down there had ever heard of s'mores. So we fixed that the next day with another wiener roast. But just going out and trusting, not having a clue as to what's going to happen. I met my second husband there, like I said. We were married 6 years. Incredible experience. Very, very different from being home, being a mom full time. And he was an excellent dad to my youngest daughter, who definitely needed it. Next.
well, Marilyn, you also did a lot of wonderful teaching for the dyslexic. You want
Oh, goodness. How could I forget that? Yes, I learned a lot down at the Dome Village and working with the homeless. And when after my dad died, I just needed to do something. I ended up signing up at the junior college and for a ceramics class because my mom and my sister and I were doing ceramics, doing something after my dad passed because we'd been together every single day for 10 months after he got burned. And so I went for a ceramics class, and long story short, God tricked me into 17 years, including a teaching credential. Teaching being the only thing I never wanted to do because I hated what teachers did to my kids who are all dyslexic, as are most of my 20 grandkids. And getting to one of the things was uh, administration. I love the kids. Administration about drove me out of my mind, but and I have an admin degree. That was one of the degrees I got in the 17 years. And everything is like teaching to the test or everything, everybody's got to be the same. And that clicked my Catholic where everyone has to look the same, uniforms and sit the same, do the same every year. And it hit that one. But working with a special ed, because I taught in Compton as a substitute for the year that I got my credential and just fell in love with the special ed and the middle school. I think most middle school is pretty special ed. They're just not in those classes. But the hormones that kick in there is just hilarious. I do have the book finished, Grandma Students, except for a couple of details on it. Um, oh, yes.
Marilyn, I was thinking, can you read this one about the gay bar in West Hollywood? Because I
I
think it's so captures who you are. This one I thought was really incredibly beautiful.
Thank you. It's one of my very favorite, and it still brings back that moment. I was at a gay bar in West Hollywood with my oldest son, Eddie. I love gay bars. Where else can I get hugged and loved and rubbed on by beautiful, hot, sweaty men who want nothing from me but love and soul connections? There was this 19-year-old man there watching Eddie and me with our arms around each other. He says, "You look like you really could be mother and son." We are. No, I mean like in real life, mother and son. We are. The young man started sobbing and was collapsing onto the floor when Eddie helped me get him into my arms so I could cradle him. I was on a bar stool, rocking him, kissing his face, and just holding him closely for about 5 minutes. He suddenly sat up, opened his eyes, and exclaimed, "I get it now. It's not because I'm gay that my parents disown me. It's because of the reaction to learning that I'm gay. It's not even about me. They will get it or they won't. But I will be fine now. Thank you so very much." That is one of my favorite stories. But there's hundreds, if not thousands of those.
Yeah, for sure. That so really, really I mean, it's a good demonstration of who you are and how you carried that through. Okay, I thought we would just take a look at now. Uh, let's see if I could share this again. Share keynote. Okay. So can everybody see the shadow lives now? Okay. So Marilyn, underneath, of course, your all your simultaneous lives, you had to deal with some shadow things. So would you like to speak to that a little bit?
I will. The Catholic Church, I think I'll be recovering Catholic for the rest of my life, if not next lives. And it was the fact that this is the only way I'm going to get to heaven or not burn alive in hell for eternity was to go by their rules. And the male domination part of it, I had no idea that was even happening until I was 12, I think, in eighth grade. It was 12 or I had just turned 13. And uh, a, the pastor had come into the classroom in eighth grade and he said, talking about something with the Baltimore Catechism, which you memorize from front to back. And I'd ask a question, and I happened to be sitting in the front row, which never happened. And he looked at me, and I've never had a real conversation with him, and he just screamed at me, "You memorize that catechism exactly the way you're told. You don't question anything. And for God's sake, you're just a girl. The only way you're going to get to heaven is listen to the man." Okay. And I didn't like it, but I didn't question it. And that was a huge part. And the fact that the male was always the one that was right, that you always have to go for them. You can't think for yourself. And those words came out of his mouth. You can't think for yourself. You have to follow the man. And uh, the Skid Row, the crime, the drugs, and the demons and stuff, it was never a question. They taught me as much as I taught them, I'm sure. And most of it was just being real and non-judgmental and staying in the moment. But I was surprised, when people would come up and they would say something. And uh, I had mentioned last week about the kid that wanted money when I was down at the mission. And um, I think most of you heard that one. But there was another one um, when I was down there. We had a little rescue possum, and her name was Diva, and she had a hair clip in her hair. She had her nails painted, and she was my daughter's who lived right behind me at the time. And we took her down there, and some guy came up. He had to be like maybe in his early 40s, late 30s, and he says, "Ew, that thing's ugly." And Christy says, "Ew, you're ugly." And by now, we were crowded. People, there had to be at least 200 that were standing there listening. And he touched it finally he touched it. He snarled at her when she said that, but I think he got it. And nice looking young man. And he said, "Oh, he touched her, Diva." And then he says, "Oh, she's different than I thought she was." And Christy touched him and said, "Oh, you're different than I thought you were." And he looked at her and he turned around and he walked away. And he was back in about 10, 15 seconds. And he says, "All right, let me hold her." And he held her and he was going on about how beautiful she was. And he said, she's soft, almost like a rabbit. He said, "I had no idea." And so Christy looks at him and she gave him a big hug and she says, "Oh, you're different than I thought you were. So, I shouldn't have been so quick to judge." It was fascinating. It was like a whole seminar in 5, 10 minutes with all these homeless around who also got the lesson. But if you open your eyes and your ears around the homeless, they are incredible and hilarious.
Wonderful. I think I've got a picture of him. I'm going to try to share real quick. Share. This will be preview one. Let me know if you can see that.
I can. Okay, this is Diva. She didn't have her hair clip on, but this is one of the homeless guys there that she just made a huge life. We went to the homeless veteran stand downs. My daughter and I would pass out free kisses, Hershey kisses, and hugs upon request. And we brought this one was in Compton, I think, and uh, amazing how the ones that were resistant and what a difference she made in their life. And even the people that were working there who were mostly veterans, she just made a huge difference. She'd cuddle up with this guy here. She was all cuddled up to his face and rubbing on him like a kitten. It was just awesome to watch.
Beautiful. And then would you like to share about Clark and then your house and stuff as part of the challenges that you went through?
This was one that really amazed me. I was married 4 times and now I'm with Raj. So people have a lot of comments, and I'm Catholic, and you got to live with one forever, and lots of stuff that went through that. But I met Clark at that same stand down, and he had just gotten out of prison. Didn't know that. All I know is he stood by the fence the entire time. It was a Saturday, and he said, "Oh, he came. He just watched and glared and frowned." And it was an anger that I looked at, and it was just like, ugh. And he came up about 7:30 that night, and he says, "All right, I want my hug." And he took a handful of kisses, and then he said, "Well, I want my hug," and he wouldn't let go. And then he said, "You've got to be kidding! I've waited all day to hug you." And he says, "Now you think you're going to get away from me?" He says, "Mark my words, someday you'll be my wife." And I thought, all righty, God. Oh, and the Tuesday before that, I told God, "Okay, one more relationship, and this time you choose them." I'm not real good at choosing them. That was after the third one. And he said, this was Saturday. So it's like 5 days, 4 days that I knew Clark was sent. He was the one I'd asked for, and I knew God had something to do with this. So as I looked up, and when Clark said that, and it was, you've got to be kidding. You looked the entire world, and this is what you chose. And uh, I said, you better not desert me with this. If this is going to be nice guy, we were a couple of kids just playing. That was my second husband was like that too. We were just kids. We almost need an adult to supervise, and which was fun because I was an adult when I was little, so now I'm a kid when I'm older. Maybe that's got something to do with playing around and jumping, skydiving, and bungee jumping, or Harley riding for that matter. But we had an interesting time. We were married 5 years altogether, and it went from that down to he'd gotten back into meth, and he was asking for money. And since I didn't have it, he said, I will, if you don't come home and give me money, I will destroy you and everything you have. And a couple hours later at the beach, my son came up with the phone, and it was my youngest son, and my second son was the on the list at my with my landlord and my reference. And so he said, the owner of the of your it was a duplex called, and your house was burned down and almost everything in it. And it was amazing how staying in the moment. I wasn't doing any of this by plan. By now, it was a survival mode of just stay in the moment. If you're depressed, you're staying in the past or you're looking at the past. And if you've got anxiety, you're thinking about the future. And believe me, in my life, that one particular moment, wherever I was or whatever I was doing, um, was more than enough to think about or to try and survive. But the presence of God with it, it wasn't a religious experience by any Catholic definition of religious. But I walked into the house and I'm looking around, and he had started the fire in the Clark burned it down because I didn't come home and give him money. And he started the fire in the bedroom, in the closet. And by the time I got there, there was no closet. There was nothing, anything that was of any kind of substance, like the what was left of the bed and a couple other things was out on the front, in the front yard in a pile, black and what anyway. Um, just staying in the moment when I walked in, it was just like interesting. You're looking at this or looking at that. And um, I thought, well, oh, I'd been at the beach, so all I own now is clothes wise was what I had on at the beach and my jacket that I had in the car. And of course, you're wearing your old shoes because you're walking in the sand and whatever. So that was it. But zero upset about any of it. It was just looking at it. Well, now I get clothes that fit better or different clothes, new variety. And uh, I was walking through the front room and I'm looking, well, don't have to dust that again. And I couldn't believe I couldn't believe how easy it was to get through it. Zero upset. And the fire captain was there too, and we saw proof that it was arson. I knew it was. I mean, we so did the fire captain, but then we actually got the proof. But to be able to get through that, and I didn't want him to know where I lived when I first moved there. It was like, okay, well, I think maybe I won't let him know next time, no matter what. And but I knew every single thing was was for my benefit. I'm a firm believer in the universe is plotting to do me good. And
Marilyn, can you talk about seeing the psychic afterwards? He had died from
oh
in
yes.
prison because I think that's really important. I had the feeling you were there to uplift and heal him and evolve him as well as yourself.
Oh, totally. And I get because I had asked God, send me one more, and I said I truly by the end of I he was just an assignment, which I think everything that's happened to me in my life was just an assignment to get through this, do this, affect that one. And Clark, after the fire, and they did finally get him. They had $1 million bail on him, and he was picked up and he was put back into jail in Banning. You got the whole planet. Really, the jail that he's in is the same city I live in. Um, just this warped sense of humor that I know God has, God's spirit, whatever you want to call him, her, it. Uh, but Clark died in jail, and he told me before that he would never let him take him alive. He was never going to go back to jail, and he did. And I got to face him a few times in court, and not talk to him, and no eye contact, but at least I saw him. And then um, I heard that he died in again Banning Hospital on the other side of me. He was on one side of me and then he died on the other side, but maybe 2 miles, 3 miles on each side of me. It was like, you got the planet, God. Could you find another jail? And because he was brilliant too, he was a Marine, and I really think he was part of. It'll come to me that this one phrase. Never mind. Anyway, he died while he was in jail, and it was about a month after that. I was with my niece in Kansas, and I had last time I had been with her, a psychic come over, and or we went to the psychic's house and I had talked to her, so I knew who she was. But this time it was COVID and whatever, so it was a phone. But I was actually in Kansas when I was talking to her, and my niece was writing down everything that she said. And she said when she opened it up, we were getting a pencil and pen. She said, "Get this," and then she said, "Oh my God." She said, "It's a huge energy here. There's something going on in your life. Um, Someone in your family died." Now, in my head, at that point where I was at was like, died? Who in my family died? Not having a clue. I mean, when I put things away, I put them away, I guess. And she said, then I realized she was talking about Clark. And she said, there is such a huge energy. I've never seen such a huge energy. And she said the whole mountainside had lit up with lightning, and she could hear him laughing. And uh, she was saying he was had trouble with demons this life, and he's now free of the demons. And he had PTSD, had been the Marine, but PTSD, he says, was from childhood. And he said, oh, she said he was free of the demons, free at last, and had found the light. Those were her words. And she said he started laughing again. And when he was laughing, he said, um, oh, she said the mountainside behind her had lit up, the entire mountainside again with the lightning. And she said that he is now free. And so it kind of confirmed to me that that was an assignment, that's just staying in the moment. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of hard times, especially when he got back into the meth. And she said meth just opens up the door to demons. So that made perfect sense.
Yeah, that was an amazing story, and how you persisted through that. And even when he said he was going to kill you, you had no fear, which I thought
Oh, that's
was
true. I was coming home from work and I was driving and he got real upset. He wanted me to cut people off. And somebody cut me off and he wanted me to get even with him. I don't play that game. I don't do that. And he got real angry about it. And actually, that was the first time he ever hit me. He didn't hit me hard, but he hit me and my guts. I turned around and I just bashed him back while I'm driving down the freeway. And he just got so upset with me. And he says, "Don't you ever hit me." I said, "Then don't hit me." And you could see the cells in his body changing when he was doing it. But he was mad because I didn't have any money for him, which I now know he wanted money for meth. So I went over, I said, "Well, I can't go to the ATM. I don't have anything in there, but I get paid tonight at midnight. So I'll go to the market and get some cash." And they gave me 200 over. He wanted 160 or something specific like that. And uh, zero fear. He told me he was so mad when I didn't have the money that he said he was going to murder me when I got home. I thought, make my day. But I said, well, I can go to Stater Brothers and I can get cash over. I'll go get some groceries and I'll get cash over because my check will cover it. The check won't go in until tomorrow. And the max that they'll give you is 100. They didn't even question 200 when I asked for 200. And I gave him the money, and that was the end of that. So he went out. As soon as we got home, he took off and uh, went and got his drugs or whatever he did
Yeah.
with the money. I'm pretty sure it was meth.
Okay,
And
Marilyn,
I packed.
I'm thinking maybe we should move into your beliefs and also open it up for a little bit of
Oh yeah,
discussion.
let's do that.
Yeah. So first of all, I'll just let me, well, we're on share good. We have 10 beliefs. Um, I thought maybe we could read through the first five and give Marilyn a break on talking here. And I just ask different people to read one of them from one through five. Then we can just open up the whole thing for discussion. So let me see if I can get to back to my share here. Okay, let's see. Share, right? One. Okay. Bill, would you read the first one, please? And be sure to unmute when you read.
Uh, there we
Bill,
go.
somehow.
I'm messing with you. Okay. Okay. This is Marilyn's beliefs and theories based on experiences. One, we are not a body with a soul. We are a soul with a body.
Okay,
Two,
for number two, Melanie, would you read number two, please?
Since we are all part of the same source of energy, then skin color, beliefs, and cultures are all just pieces of our human puzzle. We need every single piece to be able to complete the picture. So, viva la différence.
Okay, Jonathan, I'm picking you for number three, please.
Whenever I mention God, Christ, Jesus, Buddha, Source, a Force, Spirit, Keeper of the Stars, or Jehovah, I'm talking about the same thing. That universal energy that we all have in us and that we all have access to.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jonathan. And then, Mim, would you read number four, please? Mim, you're still muted.
Thank you, Tim. I am an inverse paranoid, meaning that I believe the universe is plotting to do me good. Everyone and everything that happens in my life is for my benefit.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we've got the first four of her principles and beliefs based on her experience. So let's just open it up and any thoughts, ideas, inspirations, feedback, or whatever on the whole thing, including these four. Mac, I see your mouth moving, but you're muted. Are you trying to speak? No, he's talking to somebody else. Okay.
So, Marilyn, did you ever give a copy of your book to the priest?
No, I haven't seen priest in many years.
Send it to him and write with love.
I like that. No, you're my church now.
Yeah, Mary Grace.
I just really acknowledge you, Marilyn, for being so open and vulnerable and sharing so deeply with all of us. Your life journey, you're an inspiration to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your willingness to share so deeply. And I love your book. Get her book, you guys. It's really great.
Thank you, Mary Grace.
Bill.
thanks. Yeah, Marilyn, I was really struck by how deep and genuine you are and honest. And they're interesting how you recount these moments that are so transformative and healing. Like in the gay bar, for example, it only took a minute or two, and that young man's life was transformed because of the realization that he had, and that was because of you. So, just kudos to spreading your light wherever you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Best
Then
part
we-
is so many of them have that issue that he can go on, he can spread it, and they'll spread it. So that was cool.
Okay, we have Eugenia and then Lovita, and then we'll go read a few more and then open it up again. So Eugenia.
Thank you, Tim. So Marilyn, I love one of the things you said. The universe is plotting to do me good. I love
Totally.
that. And do you is I wondered if that's been a lifelong belief. That's one question. And here's my other question. When you went from being the grande mother of producing 8 and then gathering more, when you went from working all in that mold to skydiving, zip lining, parasailing, jumping off buildings and cliffs and all that. The self-growth that came, do you think that all the activity triggered the self-growth, or the self-growth allowed the activity to happen? Or that's what I'm trying.
I think it was a jump. Tim said many years ago for when we were first talking about writing a book, was a jump to freedom. And I was compelled to do these things, having no idea what I was doing. I just had to do it. Each one of the things that happened, the opportunity came up, and I just did it. It wasn't about do I want to, or a choice, or like reading all the rules when you're going to skydive. I had my head facing you've got to do a TV screen thing. And it didn't matter. I mean, worst case scenario is I'd die. And after, the state of mind that I was at that point, so it wasn't a big deal. Somebody else can pay the rent. And, but to say it came as a jump off to find out what having a life is, a life of my own, or a life of what I wanted.
Thank you. I hear that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And then we had Lovita, and then I think Diana, and then we should probably move on to the other readings where it's 20. Okay.
Marilyn, kudos on many levels. What a courageous soul you are. I'm wondering, where is that Dome community? I know this is I think I know, your second presentation, so I'm sure you've covered it. I just don't know myself.
Downtown LA. It's not there any longer.
Oh,
but
okay.
It was from a grant from Marco, and they had it for 2-3 years at least. Might have been a little longer.
Wow. Okay. Sorry, Tim, what?
No, go ahead and finish, Lovita. And then I've got Diana and Paul, but I thought I would just show the other readings real quick. Then I'll get back to Diana and Paul in that order. So go ahead and finish, Lovita. Sorry for interrupting.
I really want to acknowledge your faith and trust in your, for lack of a better word, code of living. I have one that is, what am I here to learn? Because I too have felt that I've been out on assignment, not of my choice or design. And
right.
the wondering of what am I here to learn through this? And it's like, I really appreciate yours. Thank you for sharing so candidly.
You're welcome.
Your pink looks fabulous this morning.
Just the color of the bike now. It's been several shades of pink.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I think we did choose this before we came. I
Yeah.
think these are our choices, what lessons we were going to meet or what we were here to do. So I do believe very strongly that on some level I chose all this. So quit your bitching and deal with it. No.
That's good. Yeah, yes, thank you. Okay, I'm going to put the next few up. We'll get through them real quick and then open it up. And I've got Diana and Paul and Bonnie will be coming up next. Okay, so share, there's so much great stuff here. Let's see. Ruth, would you mind reading this number 5 here, please? Oh, maybe she's busy. Let me grab somebody else.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
okay, great. Read number 5.
I now believe that the way to my destiny is to follow my heart. And I believe that is true for all of us. Let me back up for a moment and explain this staying in the moment, listening to spirit, the soul, force, my guides, God, destiny, the universe, and following my heart stuff. I believe that I am always safe when I am following my heart. I cannot make a mistake or take the wrong path. It is not possible when I am in touch with my heart energy or love energy, when the God in me sees the God in others. I am never alone. I am always with and a part of the big piece. Anything I need to get through this life, or this day, or this moment, is available. Always. I don't believe there are any coincidences in life. To me, everything is always perfect, whether I like it or not. The sooner I remember this, the easier the hurdles are for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the privilege of reading it.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Marilyn, 100,000%.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Robin, would you mind? Why don't you read the next 2 here, and then I'll have Mary Kelly read the last page. So Robin, 6 and 7, please.
All right. If you truly learn anyone's story, you will be in love with their heart. Therefore, you are already in love with their heart. Now, what is their story? Number 7. One of the most effective methods of reaching the state of being with spirit is to always be satisfied and not craving things or people. I always go back to want what I have. When I do that, I also remember that whatever I have, I'm facing or feel stuck on is perfect, always. If so, then what is perfect or positive about this situation? I've always been able to find something positive in anything. I have become an expert at making lemonade out of any kind of lemons, no matter how sour they seem at first.
Thank you, Robin. And Mary Kelly, would you bring us the next 2, 8 and 9? Unmute though, Mary.
Life is way too important to take seriously. I went from fear, religion, to fun, to God is my best friend, and He is hilarious. And now I know we are all God's spirits, same energy. We are all one. Resilience via humor. I want to thrive, not just survive. The next one, too?
Yeah.
Okay. When I am confronted with a tough question, I always ask, what would the choice be if I only had 1 month to live? The answer is almost always quite obvious. And then I remind myself, you don't know if you even have that long. This process has saved me and others a lot of unnecessary steps. It also gives me the necessary boost that I need when faced with something difficult.
Okay, I'm going to have Diana do the last one, and then she can start her share. Here you are, Diana, number 10. Unmute.
I only see a little bit, but I have also learned that the answer is love, no matter what the question is.
A little bit, but it's
Number
good.
10. So stop share. So you can continue. You had your hand up, and then we'll go to Paul and Bonnie.
Well, I wrote the foreword for the second part of the book, which was when Marilyn discovered the inside edge. So I'm going to read a piece of that because I think it sums up what we heard today. I began with a quote from F. Scott Fitzgerald. I hope you see things that startle you. I hope you feel things you never felt before. I hope you meet people who have a different point of view. I hope you live a life you're proud of, and if you're not, I hope you have the courage to start all over again. It goes on, imagine a place long before the internet where freshly emerging luminaries of the world of human potential met weekly for breakfast at 6:30 a.m. These people had not yet written books, but would soon become some of the most celebrated authors in the world. At this weekly gathering, members enjoyed breakfast, networking, and inspiring speakers who shared futuristic visions of a new world. It was a true crossroads of consciousness. Marilyn's radiant face on the back cover of this book bring memories of how alive and hopeful she was when first stepping into a Beverly Hills hotel ballroom. She simply came alive and has stayed alive ever since. What a joy it has been to check in with and cheer Marilyn on over the years through all her evolutions. She is someone who has had the courage numerous times to start all over again. What stories she has to tell. Read on.
All right. We have about 3 minutes
Thank you,
left,
Diane.
and I see Paul and Bonnie. So
Okay, it's Paul, but so Marilyn, what an incredible life. What do you attribute to this in your life, this forgiveness, this caring that you could easily be cynical given everything you've done?
Oh,
What do you
I don't even think forgiveness. It just it's for my benefit. I mean, after that my house was burned down, I got a really beautiful home in Banning, really one of the nicest ones that I've been in, and everything. It's just humor and um, you just it was so easy to see the good in what had happened. The other house would have done, but this was really a beautiful home that I got afterwards. So, and I think knowing everything is perfect. So burning the house down, that was perfect. Okay, God, my 34,000 I lost on this book and still don't have the anyway. Again, I know it's perfect. I just snap into I know it is. Who am I going to meet? And I've met detectives and FBI and blah blah blah, and even the people at the bank. Just and I had the book with me when I went to the bank because I was saying none of this is fraud. You know, I've got the book; it's been done, and of course they were right. Expensive lesson, but knowing it's going to be okay without the money. I just know that I know I'm doing whatever God wants, and I can hear the humor in it. I remember the first time I really connected with him, or him, her, whatever, was coming home from the doctor's with my youngest, and the doctor just told me he thought my oldest was going to be going blind, and I was crying, and then I went into yelling, and I found myself swearing at God. And I said, "Why am I saying thee and thou when you know what I mean? You already can read my mind." And um, it was like, maybe tomorrow, not today. I'm done. Leave me alone. Go find someone else to pick on or to get lessons. Just leave me alone. And I can't take anymore. And I got home. My mom was at the door, and she had the other seven who were sitting in front of the TV, literally with their hands in their lap, The house was clean. The mounds of laundry were folded and put away. The kitchen was clean. And she had her arm extended. She says, don't even come in the house. She says, just hand me the baby. Took the baby, gave me my husband a $50 bill. She says, you two get out of here. She says, I don't care where you go, but you're not allowed back in your house until midnight. I would suggest that you go someplace that you can talk versus going to the movies, but your choice. You guys go. And all I could do was look up and say, thank you. So I knew at that point, no matter how I was talking, he knew I was talking from my heart. And we've become best friends. And I've sworn at him a couple times since. But you say talking to God. And if you're talking to him, why are you talking in this sweet little mild voice when you're screaming inside? And he knows that. If he didn't know all, that'd be a different ball game. But just stop being nice about it and be real. And no, we don't have to take everything. When my oldest son was being in the 80s is so fun. When he was diagnosed as HIV positive, at that point was a death sentence. And I remember saying really loud and really clear, this is not up for discussion. You gave him to me. I know you can take him whenever you want, but you're not going to. You said I could have him now. Fix this. And within a couple of months, the cocktail came out. And he's alive and well today at 60. Just miracle after miracle in just demanding. When my daughter, my fifth child, Betty, she had surgery. It's a birth defect that has 3 parts to it. And one was the stomach muscle. And she came within minutes of dying by the time I got her to Children's Hospital. A series of miracles is how I got her there at 2 in the morning. And she has since had, that's one, and that was a permanent fix. And then she had aorta problems. And the last time, this was like 3 years ago, probably, she lives here in Peoria, Arizona.
Marilyn, we have to kind of wrap up because we're running out of time. So maybe just summarize and we have to go to business.
Okay. Anyway, the doctor said she would not survive this surgery, and she ended up at the Mayo Clinic, and the head guy at the Mayo Clinic did the surgery and said he didn't think she would have made it through with anyone else, which is what we'd been told, that she wasn't going to survive the surgery. And she did. So again, not this kid, not today, can't have her. And she's healthy today. One more and she'll be done.
Well, thank you, Marilyn. We've got to experience an amazing life with amazing challenges, amazing loving kindness, an amazing set of principles I think that everybody can really look at and take to heart and apply to your life. I've always felt the Mastery Circle was a circle of masters, of people who have dove into life, worked really hard, learned, and now we're sharing it with each other for the uplift and for the evolution of everybody in the group. So with that, I'll turn it back for completing. And Mary Grace, if you could stop the recording, please.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Tim.
I owe Tim my life.